Tired of being sold old, useless, or even fake medicinal plants, in 1673 the Worshipful Society of Apothecaries of London leased a plot of land on the bank of the River Thames. Here they could grow their own medicinal plants, teach their apprentices how to identify and use them, and turn them into medicines. For more than 320 years, the garden remained closed to outsiders. Today, we know this place as the Chelsea Physic Garden. Their crest, of the Greek sun god Apollo, associated with both medicine and healing, astride the dragon of disease, can be seen on the garden's gate, which once led directly to a wharf on the river. This is where plants from around the world were delivered to the garden. The garden is now bounded by a busy road and sits under the flight path of Heathrow Airport, which is why we're doing this voiceover today, because no matter how good your microphones are, it's almost impossible to get rid of the sound. Apothecaries were the equivalent of our pharmacists and ultimately became the first general practitioners. They could both make and prescribe medicines. The garden still reflects their studies of medicinal plants by displaying herbs in the groups according to their use. It's somewhat surprising to learn that the garden was only open to the general public in 1987, so roughly 40 years ago. Since 1987, the garden has been redeveloped and redesigned with new plantings and new features, lawns and other gardens for the enjoyment of visitors. 3 years after the apothecaries took over the land, a wall was built around the whole area, which has provided a microclimate which benefited the wide range of plants that had been brought into the garden. It's really funny because you look up and you're surrounded by buildings everywhere. Oh, look at that one. It's got the most giant chook on the roof line. In addition to this, in 1680, glass houses were first introduced, which warmed by stoves. And again, this just helped keep all those amazing exotic plants that were collected overseas. It enabled them to grow in the garden here in London. And that research and work into rare and unusual plants has continued right up until this day. I've just come into the tropical corridor and the temperature has just gone right up. So there are some familiar plants like this beautiful staghorn, and I can see a pitcher plant here. Oh, and here, growing up the wall, is a vanilla lily. Whoa, it's so hot and humid in here. The plants are loving it, me less so. And this one certainly looks fun. This is the ant plant. Nice that it rhymes, but this is the one where the ants actually live in this bulbous stem, and then they help the plant to grow with their droppings. And apparently in Indonesia it's boiled as a treatment for swellings, headaches and other illnesses. We were talking to our guide about the Wallamai pine, and she told us to come in here and look at this amazing plant. So one of 2 existing specimens harvested from the wild, grown from cuttings. So like our Wallamai pine, this little plant, the St. Helena Ebony, which is only less than a metre tall in this pot. And this was found by a man who was just basically wandering around and happened to stumble across it. It was believed to be completely extinct. It was only refound in the 1950s. This is a listed rockery. We've got some beautiful cyclamens here, but that's not the reason why it's listed. This rockery was built in 1763. So many historic associations, particularly for people from Australia and New Zealand and the Pacific Islands, in this garden bed. And down here you can see all of these rocks, and they're black basalt, and they've come from Iceland. And they were actually used by Sir Joseph Banks as ballast in his ships when he was off doing plant hunting. So that was one of the first reasons why this garden is listed. Sitting in front here, this big stone, and this stone and several other feature stones in the bed come from the Tower of London when they were doing a renovation several hundred years ago. So that's pretty astonishing. And then inside, one right here on the end, are clamshells that were brought back by James Cook on his visit to Tahiti. The Chelsea Physic Garden now has an edible section, and this is set there to reflect the fact that even before the Chelsea garden was there, that this area was an area of orchards and market gardens taking advantage of the rich soil on the banks of the Thames. The other interesting thing here is that these plants grow through their whole life cycle. They're not actually here to be used as fruits and vegetables. They're here for study purposes. I'm absolutely loving this dark, dark purple and green curly kale. How nice is that? Love to have that in the garden. And this little tree here is the pine nut tree. I just absolutely love all of these hand-woven cages for the plants. These ones are for the legumes, and you can see that they'd absolutely adore growing over them. And they're all pretty simple, just all made from twine and cut sticks. So something I think that we could probably all grow in our gardens. So the Chelsea Physic Garden is somewhere that I'd really encourage people to visit while they're in London. I will let you know up front that there is actually a fee to enter, so please check when you're travelling. But it really is such a pleasant relief, even with the traffic and the airport flyovers. It's a lovely space where you can just wander around and have a good time. And I would really recommend that you take advantage of the free tours that the Friends of the Garden run. We found it fascinating and we learnt so much more. I think we spent several hours there, so well worth the visit. And don't forget, there are other amenities there. There's a nice cafe, there's play areas for the kids, open lawns. It's really good. And let's face it, no one's going to hear your kids yelling while they're playing under the Heathrow flight path.